Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Julia. I'm an LCA consultant and also in charge of communications at Green Delta, so the developers of openLCA. And today in this webinar, we're together with Georgia Zhu from HiQLCD database. So HiQLCD database is a newly launched database with Chinese inventories. It's available in openLCA for some months now. And Georgia is an LCA research associate in energy and water systems. So she'll be guiding us through the new updates through the HiQLCD. Hi, Georgia. Then we have also Chiara, Chiara de Gradis. We are colleagues. She's also an LCA consultant, also working in communications. She'll be presenting a nice case study in openLCA with the HiQLCD database. But let's dive directly into the presentation and the contents.
Okay. Let's start. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Georgia, and I'm from HiQ Smart Data. And I'm very pleased to be here for this joint sessions with Julia and Chiara. And today we are excited to introduce a set of new data sets from the HiQLCD, the high quality life cycle database initiated from China, particularly our electricity data. I hope it will be both information for you. So today's there are 4 parts we'd like to walk you through. Let's begin with a simple questions. Why does Chinese data matter? Well, to start with, China is the manufacturing powerhouse. Manufacturing contributes close to 30% of the whole country's GDP, which is much larger share than most major economies. But more importantly, China isn't just producing for itself, it's also producing for the world. According to the global statistics, China accounts for around 28 to 30% of the global manufacturing output and is involved in 30 to 35% of the global supply chains. That includes key sectors like electronics, home appliances, auto parts, and more, all of which are common targets for our LCA, right? And if we look at trends, the picture becomes even clearer. Over 95% of China's exports are manufactured goods, meaning Chinese industrial processes are deeply embedded in products consumed globally. So if you build a LCA as for global products or even just trying to understand the footprint of the complex supply chains, chances are China's data is part of the system, whether you see it or not. So, and beyond production value, there's another layer to China's global roles, and that's dependence. According to recent studies, China supplies 60% of the EU's intermediate product imports, not just consumer goods, but components in critical ecosystems like some renewable energy, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing. And the numbers are striking, like this. Over 70% of PV panels or 82% of permanent garments used in Europe come from China. These aren't just goods, they are the building blocks of clean energy and public health. And the right-hand chart, you can see it tells us something even more critical. Amongst more countries, China represents the largest number of simple points of values in EU superchains. In other words, disruptions in Chinese production can ripple globally. And this brings us to a crucial question. If so many of the world's products depends on China, then what happens in LCA if we don't have the right Chinese data? So that's what we explore that. So we are seeing that China plays a massive role in global production and many countries are deeply dependent on it. But that's where the real LCA challenge begins. On the left, we can see that in many industries, electronics, automotive, food, fashion, 75 to 90% of the carbon footprint comes from the supply chains, not from on-site. And in most cases, that supply chain runs through China. But if we look at the right, there's clear gap. Only 6% or 4% of datasets in some global databases actually come from China. There's a big mismatch. It's like China dominates the supply chains, but barely appears in the background data. And without solid background data, our LCA results risks being incomplete or misleading. And among all the background data gaps, electricity stands out, both in terms of its climate impact and its core sector relevance. And for many power-intensive sectors like PV, electric vehicles, and batteries, electricity consumption accounts for nearly half or even more of their carbon footprints. So if we don't have accurate electricity data, we won't get the reliable LCA results for these sectors either. At the same time, China's power system is changing fast and uniquely complex. Over the past decades, the share of renewables in electricity generation has risen from 31% to 55%. And also, China is leading the world in advanced technologies like ultra-high voltage transmission, with over 41,000 kilometers of long-distance lines in operation or under construction. And this number is from 2020. Maybe today's the numbers will be more larger. But despite this progress, most global databases still relies on some outdated or overly simplified representations of Chinese electricity, both in terms of electricity mix and region. That's the key point. If we don't have precise regional specific high quality electricity data, LCA maybe would loses its value as a scientific tool. And for product designs, corporate carbon strategies, or policy making, that's exactly why HiQLCD aims to solve, and that's why electricity is the first data set we put first in HiQLCD. But before we zoom into the electricity, it's important to first understand the system behind it. The electricity data in HiQLCD is not built in isolation. It's developed as part of the structured national LCI database system. HiQLCD provides the technical foundation, methodological consistency, and data infrastructure that make high-quality electricity datasets possibility. And it's not just a database; it's a unified system It covers over 30,000 datasets across 1,000 products and 1,500 technologies, from nation down to city level. And it includes detailed inputs, technologies, and trade flows, and it supports both cut-off and consequential modeling. And most importantly, it maintains and fully compatible with our openLCA. And this is what gives us electricity dataset is reliability and compatibility, and ensures the electricity datasets can work with other datasets in the LCA projects. Then let's look at the electricity datasets. We organize the datasets by activity types based on like production, supplies, and consumption. And each step is treated as an independent, linkable process. But on the left, you can see how we break down generation by technology over 10 types, including coal, gas, hydro, wind, nuclear, and solar. And with some detailed types like turbine size or hydropower scale. And for power supplies and consumptions, we include 7+1 voltage levels because one is for specific voltage levels. But for the specific voltage levels is from the less than 1 kilowatt to 220 kilowatts and beyond. And the most importantly, this isn't just national data. All these united processes are recognized across 31 provinces and within 6 regional grid zones and links through inter-regional power flows. On the right, you can see how that plays out spatially. And the map shows our provincial coverage along with cross provincial transmission. So what we are building is not just details, but highly location specific and relies for the LCA modeling. Here, we use a short video walk you through to how every electricity dataset in HiQLCD is linked and checked. And the video is from national electricity consumption, then drill down to regional and provincial grids, and even capture inter-provincial trends and supplies. Each generation technology is checked along with upstream full input. And most importantly, every dataset is backed by a documented process, from creating to editing and to review. So the entire process remains the transparent and verifiable. And importantly, for the whole systems, we adopt a cradle to consumption boundary, includes upstream, generation, and grid supply stages. For the upstream stage, the stage covers the extraction, production, and transport of fuels, materials, and some equipment, and everything that enter the power plants. And then the generation stage includes the full life cycle within the power plants, from its construction, installation, operation to retirement. And it also accounts for fuel combustions, process emissions, and waste handling until the electricity being fed into the grid. And the last stage is the electricity supply stage, reflects the infrastructure supporting transmission and distribution. including the velocity life cycles and the transmission losses and related emissions, until all the electricity is finally delivered to the user. And to ensure our credibility, we rely on the multiple reliable sources. We some local official statistics and standards. And that's the largest size of our data, around 35%. And this includes data from organizations like the China Electricity Council and publications like the China Electric Power Yearbook. Then we had project reports, peer-reviewed publications from Chinese researchers, and some industry research, all of which enrich the datasets with technology-specific details and some local practices. Finally, a small portion comes from international publications, which we use mainly for some default values. And there is another key question for us. It means how do we keep it up to date, especially in such a fast-moving sector like electricity? And actually, in HiQLCD, we do this through a parametric structure, and it enables system-wide structure updates across the entire power supply chain, from upstream inputs to final power delivery. And on the left, you can see upstream parameters like field type, origin, transport, or equip types. In the center, we capture how power is actually generated from field use efficiency and quality, and some setups. And on the right, we cover the product stage, how electricity enter the grid, and how much is imported or transferred, and the T&D loss. And the whole structure allows us to quickly reflect real-world changes, not by rebuilding the entire datasets, but by updating these relevant pieces. And there is, sorry. And to more clearly, here's one example from the PV supply chains. And what we are showing here is a full chain comparison between HiQLCD database in blue one and other database in yellow one. And as you can see, for the yellow ones, many earlier data sets were from the early 2000s or even the 1990s, which no longer reflect current technicals, even through the electricity mix is new, right? But by contrast, HiQLCD provides up-to-date electricity data for every stage, from silica to silicon and to wafer, cell, and module production, all the way through to PV power generation and the electricity mix. So when we talk about keeping electricity days current, it's not just about the grid structure itself, it's also about everything upstream that uses. And that's a quick tour of HiQLCD's electricity data, high resolution, up-to-date, and ready to use. Now let's see how it supports a real-life sectoral LCA. And recently, we had been working with the China Non-Ferrous Metal Industry Association to build China's first food process LCA database for the aluminum sector. And this database includes more than 1,800 unit process datasets and includes 24 product types and cover 11 provinces. and also representing around 90% of national capacity. And this database can support both cutoff and consequential system models, and it designs for multiple use cases, like from product carbon footprint to and corporate reporting and some supply chain analysis and policy development. And we work across 11 major producing provinces. And for each one, we match the specific regional power mix based on our HiQLCD's electricity dataset. And this matters because electricity is the biggest driver of carbon footprint variation across regions. And as you can see in the bar chart on the right, the differences can be huge. For the exempt and aluminum products, the footprint gap can reach up to 75%, depending on where it is produced. So the geography granularity, the electricity data isn't just a detail, it's what makes this kind of province level modeling possible. And what's more, building on that provincial data, we also make sure to cover the entire supply chain from upstream materials such as anode block, alumina, and to fabricated aluminum products such as different alloy. And each of these stages consumes electricity, and the carbon footprint can vary widely depending on the technology used and the region it's located in. And in total, we built over 1,800 datasets. That's around 3 to 5 times more than other global databases. So we can summarize that. For the aluminum sector, electricity is the dominant contributor to the product's carbon footprint. And we used province-specific electricity data, like Shandong in this picture, rather than the regional grid data from other database. We can see that it leads to a more than 30% reduction in the footprint for primary aluminum. And what's more, as China's grid decarbonizes, relying on outdated power data can lead to substantial overestimation. And in our case, keeping the data current will avoid this 9 to 40% overestimate, which could make or break a footprint case or policy decision. So this is not just an improvement for the aluminum sector. It's also a model, and it shows how HiQLCD can support other industrial too. And in these final sections, we'll highlight some what's new in the latest electricity data release in HiQLCD and what's coming next as an ending of this part. And in the latest release, version 1.3 will update all electricity datasets to 2022, and we added some 103 new ones and replaced foreign background data with Chinese-specific infrastructure, including coal-fired power plants. And right now, we cover 31 provinces, 6 regional grids, and 8 voltage levels, with over 1,100 electricity datasets available. And more is already on the way. We are preparing the 2023 data update and a new electricity structure for some grid power consumption modeling. And we also expanding the linkage between electricity and domestic some local supply chain data, and it will bring greater details and localize across sectors, and it will coming soon. So that brings us to the end of this part. Next, maybe we'll hand over to Julia and Kiasa, who will walk you through how to use HiQLCD in openLCA. Thanks for listening. We'll maybe see the next Q&A session.
Super. Thank you a lot, Georgia. That was really insightful. Next we are happy to show you a case study in openLCA using the HiQLCD database. So Chiara, I welcome you to the stage. Thanks.
Thank you, Julia, for the introduction. So I'm going to share my screen now. And yeah, also thank you, Georgia. It was really, really interesting. So this is a cradle-to-grave study of a photovoltaic system using indeed the HiQLCD database. The goal of the study was to assess the environmental impacts of this photovoltaic system, which is produced in China and later transported to Germany for the use and end-of-life phases. We'll have a nice graphics later to see the whole life cycle of the system. But first, let's take a look at the scope of the study. So the functional unit at first, which is kilowatt hours of electricity generated by the photovoltaic system in 25 years, which was assumed being the operational lifetime. And the databases used was, of course, the Chinese database together with EcoInvent, and we'll go through that in a second. We use the environmental footprint 3.1 as impact assessment method, and the 2.50 version of our software openLCA. Of course, a few assumptions were made. For example, during the use phase, we didn't consider the maintenance. And also in the treatment process, we only considered, let's say, the main materials coming from the treatment of the components, and we only considered electricity. So here we see simplified but yet really useful way to see the whole life cycle of the photovoltaic system. So we basically have all the upstream processes, so raw material supply, transport to factory, and manufacturing happening in China. And so, of course, this was modeled with the HiQLCD database in order to really provide a good representation of the of these phases. After that, we have a transport from the manufacturing facility to a Chinese harbor, and from there to Rotterdam harbor. And this was also modeled with HiQLCD database. From there, from the Rotterdam harbor, the EcoInvent database took over because from that moment we are in the shores of Germany. So we have the use phase and the transport to the recycling or incineration facility, which was indeed modeled with EcoInvent. So of course, in order to do so, we had to merge the two databases in the software in openLCA. So at first, we imported the HiQLCD database, and after that, we also imported EcoInvent so that we had really the both datasets available in order to model the appropriate lifecycle stage. So from now, I would like to go to the software to actually show you how it looks in openLCA. So this is our model. I would like to show you, first of all, the processes. So of course, here we have the EcoInvent database, which many of you maybe already know. So this is really the classical way it is visualized. Here we have the case study, and we'll get to that in a second. While here we have all the processes from the HiQLCD database listed. I would like to point out that the fact this rectangle is full, it means that they are system processes. So maybe we do not have the detail, let's say, of the processes of products contributing to the process. So maybe we don't see the whole supply chain, but something really interesting, like Georgia already said before, is that there is a really incredible regionalization. So we do not only have the process for China, but we really have the different regions. So maybe we can see an example. Let's take electricity, since we are talking about electricity. So here, this is how, okay, sorry. This is how the inputs and outputs look in a process related to electricity production in China. But another really interesting thing is that, for example, here, we do not only have the province, but we have the city, which is a really nice detail, I think. We have the Anqing city in Anhui province, so it's really a nice level of granularity. And if we scroll down, of course, we can see the whole list of processes, which is really complete. So it gets until here. But going back to our case study, here we basically have the phases we already saw in the slides. So we have the upstream phases with the system component sourcing, the photovoltaic system transportation and installation. All these happening, no, well, actually this happening in China, the transportation, let's say half China, half other side of the world. And then we have the installation and use phase and the end of life happening in Germany. So this is our core, this is the electricity production. And like I said here, we didn't take into account the maintenance, but without getting too much into detail, I would like to show you the product system, which is basically a way to see the connection of all these processes and really see the whole life cycle of our photovoltaic system. So again, here we have our core, so the electricity production, and we can go backwards, seeing all the phases coming before that. So we have the installation, so point 3 of the upstream. Then we have the transportation before that, the system component sourcing. So it's a really nice way to see how it goes back until the component sourcing phase. And also, let's say on the other side, we will have the installation that we can see here. And from that, of course, we have the treatment of all the different components of the photovoltaic system that we can also expand and see a little more in detail. So here we have a fraction of the components that is sent to incineration, for example, here the aluminium and the steel, while another fraction is considered as recyclable. But here we adopted a cutoff logic, so we do not take into account, we do not take credit from the recycle. And from here, of course, we can also calculate the impacts of our photovoltaic system. So like we said, we use the environmental footprint 3.1 method. And if we run the calculation, indeed, we'll be able to see, for example, the processes contributing the most to climate change or water use or all the impact categories that are inside the method. So of course, there are many different ways to visualize the results, but I'm not gonna go through all of them because it will really take a long time. Usually, I really like to see the contribution tree because it gives me a really nice and easy visualization of the processes contributing the most, for example, in this case, to climate change. So here, for example, I can see that the sourcing is the phase that contributes the most to climate change. And it really makes sense also with other studies about the photovoltaic systems, because indeed the production of the components has a huge impact on these, on climate change, for example. But we could also see other, for example, for the water. Indeed, also here, we're gonna see that the system component sourcing is the one contributing the most to the impact on water use, but it really makes sense. Okay, so this was a quick view of our case study in openLCA. So to conclude, I shall go back to our slides with a few takeaways from the case study. So first of all, that we can use in a combined way HiQLCD database together with EcoInvent in openLCA, and that combining these two databases really can give a good geographic representation depending on the life cycle stage on the PV system. So we have the production in China, we can use the Chinese database, we have the use phase in Germany, we can use EcoInvent, and that's really interesting. And of course, this study will be available on Nexus, both the model for openLCA and the report. So if you want to have more details about it, it will be indeed be available there. So I hope I stayed in the times. And now I'll leave the floor to Julia for the Q&A session.
Super. I think we had really nice content. Thank you both, Georgia and Chiara, for your great presentations. If you are interested in asking Georgia a question about the database or Chiara a question about how to work with HiQLCD in openLCA, leave us a question in the Q&A or the chat, and I shall look into them. So we have a first question. Could reports such as carbon footprint reports or EPDs that use HiQLCD electricity data be officially recognized or certified? Maybe I can also be answering questions here. I know quite a bit about HiQLCD, but also openLCA. Indeed, the database can be used for official documents. I mean, in the end, when doing a carbon footprint report or EPD, it can be certified as long as it's following a specific standard. Yeah, the standard might say use a cutoff database or a consequential database or so. But it's more when we follow the standard, meaning, yes, you can also use HiQLCD. Would you like to add, Georgia?
Yeah. Thank you, Julia. And the HiQLCD actually still have some EPDs and some products carbon footprint reports had already used HiQLCD datasets, and it has successfully passed review. So it definitely can use it to in your reports or to satisfy. Yeah.
Super, thanks. I have a question myself for Georgia, maybe. You showed a really nice diagram that you could expand to check the transparency of your data sets, right?
Yeah. The diagram is on our official website. You can see the videos.
And well, first of all, hi Johnson, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, I'm just listening, but with my own laptop, so I can't, open the mic.
Yes. Okay, great that you could join this way. Johnson, would you like to introduce yourself briefly, maybe, to our audience?
Hello, everyone. So this is Johnson. I'm the founder, also the CEO of HiQLCD, High Quality Lifecycle Database. Is the specific Chinese database. I think that you have listened to the introduction of our specialist Gojo about Chinese electricity. So I think high quality is our goal. There is no absolute high quality because for database, we need continuously maintenance and updating. So we are still working. We are still on the way to higher quality. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Johnson. Nice that you could join with Georgia. Yeah, so continuing, I think it's quite interesting to understand the transparency of the data. So I saw this diagram that you showed us in the video. I wanted to know if one can access such diagram to oneself be clicking at those processes to understand the supply chains?
Yes, it is what we did, in the last 2 or 3 years. Actually, we invest a lot in this IT infrastructure. So for every data set, you can access every unit, every node by yourself. So it's a real, like, how do you say, flow chart, or the real model. It is over there. You can click, you can track, you can open it, you can read all this information. But I think that you need to register one account first through our data, browsing platform like EcoInvent, EcoQuery, and you can check this meta information. Yeah. And if you actually buy the license from openLCA, we can also give a account to the user, so the user can read or can access both this meta information and the value, the figure, because we don't sell the database directly to the user. We usually distribute our database through these tools, like openLCA is our partner. So if you buy it from openLCA, we can also send you one account on HiQ.Earth. So with this subscribed account, you can access all of this information.
Very nice. I'm making notes because I'm gonna leave the link available in the YouTube video, and also we can also email the link and this information to our attendees after the webinar. Thanks a lot, Johnson.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from the audience? Those curious, please feel free. Oh, we did have quite some. This happened to me last time. That I don't refresh, so then I don't see it. Okay. So Dr. Lu says, great, try using a cradle to grave study. Will this study be published in an international peer-reviewed journal so that more scientific communities can be aware of this combination? Chiara?
So for now, our plan is to publish the study in Nexus. So for now, let's say that's the plan. So of course it will be available for everyone. You can actually find it both in Nexus and the openLCA.org website. But yeah, so for now, I think that is.
Exactly. So this case study, we wanted so that people can see how to use HiQLCD, so that people can also see what's the difference between using HiQLCD and other databases directly in an LCA. And for now, it's going to be available, as Chiara said, in Nexus, free of charge, so that people can use it as case study themselves for learning. So that's kind of the purpose. Thanks. Nice question. Then I had another question myself. So we already have HiQLCD available for openLCA. It's available for some months in openLCA Nexus, the marketplace for openLCA databases, or those databases that can be used for openLCA. And you're now showing a new version 1.3 with new electricity data and an updated version already of your database. What's a bit the time frame so that people can then be seeing it in openLCA?
It will happen. I have discussed with my team around the Q4, because there are a lot of professional translation needed, and we also have the plan to list the China aluminum database we developed with China Non-Ferrous Metal Association also to openLCA. So we believe that on openLCA you will see continuously updating HiQLCD. Yeah, this is our difference from other database, because we believe that fresh data makes sense.
Super. Thanks a lot. So I'll be looking forward, and my colleagues, I'm sure also, to receiving these updates, hopefully in Q4 of this year.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. We will make it happen. We have belief. Yeah.
Good. Very nice. For now, I believe we don't have any more questions. Those that would like to ask something, now is your time. But if we don't have any more questions, then I think that's it. Thank you a lot, Georgia and Johnson, for this joint webinar. I think it was a really great idea, and I'm happy we had a really rich content here. So both with Georgia's explanation of what's the deal with Chinese data and how it's relevant in the world currently, then the updates of the HiQLCD database, specifically looking at electricity. We then saw this, how it looks in openLCA, how the database looks in openLCA, and also we have a nice case study available. And maybe a conclusion is that you can use HiQLCD with the openLCA reference system, which for non-experts means you can fuse it with other databases like EcoInvent, like Chiara demonstrated, which then becomes really interesting. So thank you a lot. Any last words from my co-webinar people?
So of course, I also want to thank you. Sorry, we started talking exactly the same time. No, please.
Thank you for this arrangement as well. So why we, explain or exhibit the electricity today, because for electricity is a key for so many downstream, like materials or products. So this is also a key for a high quality like database, because for database it's not a single or independent project or report. It's cross-connected sectors or locations. So we hope that next that we can show more models or show more data sets application for downstream users. So people or the user, they can experience more, what they will use, for example. Yeah.
Super. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Johnson and Georgia. Chiara, any last words?
I just wanted to thank everyone, of course, both the HiQLCD team and our attendees. It was really interesting, I think, for everyone. So yeah, it was just a general thank you.
Thanks, Chiara. All right. Well, with that really nice note, we shall see you in the next webinar. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good summer vacation.
You too.
Same.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.